Welcome back to another episode of Backpacking Latin America, in which two Irish people wander their way lazily from Mexico City to Brazil, enriching their senses with new sights, sounds and smells without dying of altitude sickness. You rejoin us just as we were waving goodbye to the awe-inspiring Machu Picchu, but 3 days before this had seen us experience a year's worth of adventure, the majority of which had been enjoyable, although it wasn't all roses.
I don't know. It's just not good.
We had just enough time back in AGUAS CALIENTES to get some food, clink these bottles of beer together, and get our passports stamped before having to rush for a train. At this point, we were all so sick of buses that this felt like a treat. And it really was a treat. This stunning train journey took us back through the Sacred Valley to Ollantaytambo, where we were quickly demoted back to a bus for the remainder of the trip. By the time we did eventually set foot back in Cusco, the sack was well and truly calling.
And we're eventually back in Cusco. It is 7:30. I'm tired. I'm starving. Yeah, I'm done recording.
I spent the majority of the next 24 hours sleeping and just being horizontal in general. When we did finally leave the safety of the hostel the next evening, it was out of necessity.
We are heading into town now to give back the backpacks that we rented for the Machu Picchu trek, and we're also going to inquire about doing Rainbow Mountain tomorrow. So yeah, not a lot of rest in between, but we can sleep when we're dead, I suppose.
Not the best sentiment to live your life by. I think I was just trying to convince myself that this was a good idea. We found ourselves back in the familiar Machu Picchu reservations, as they offered discounts on tours to returning customers. Our tour, including breakfast and lunch, cost us 70 soles each, which was around €18 at the time of recording.
Alright, that is Rainbow Mountain booked for tomorrow. We have to be ready for 4:30 in the morning, which is a bit sickening, but we can't do anything about that.
After this, it was time to check another Peruvian delicacy off my list.
Just gonna serve it over my right shoulder.
Okay, this is a guinea pig.
Oh wow, thank you. Gracias.
Obviously, there wasn't a huge amount of meat, but what was there was tasty. Outside the restaurant, something a bit more meaty was happening.
There's a fairly serious protest happening behind us. They've got like something burning up there. They're like banging on the doors of a nightclub, but I'm not fully sure what's happening. They're coming after us. I can't believe we're packing again for another trek.
Sick. Are you trekking?
That's good.
Two hours into our bus trip, we stopped for breakfast, which was great apart from...
My God, it is freezing.
We were currently in the town of Cusipata, about 2 hours from Cusco. Once our breakfast was finished, we'd be heading off-road for another hour up to the beginning of the hike. The hike itself could take anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on how our bodies responded to the lack of oxygen. We were hoping that the views at least would make up for the potentially tricky hike.
Smaller than I thought it was going to be honest. We have arrived at the trailhead. I'm not actually sure what altitude we're at, but I'll put it here. I think we're already above the maximum altitude that we gained during the Laguna 69 trek, which was tough on the body. So yeah, the next time I'm talking to you, hopefully I can breathe.
To help me achieve that goal, we sampled some liquid coca leaves, which apparently helps with breathing at higher altitudes.
Nice. The good thing about Rainbow Mountain is that the trek is actually very short. I can actually see the end in the distance here, and I feel like it It's a great leveler. It doesn't really matter about your fitness. It's more about your ability to be able to cope with the high altitude. Because, in fairness, this has been quite flat. But I am very out of breath. The steepness has increased and breaths just aren't cutting it anymore. It's getting very tough now. I'm gonna take a break. I have arrived, I think. There is another summit up to my left. Ooh, sorry. Huh. I think that's the Rainbow Mountain there behind me. Smaller than I thought it was going to be honest. Oh, do I try and summit this?
It's a relatively new phenomenon, as up to recently all of this was covered in snow. The fact that we can actually see these bright colours is a direct result of global warming. So it's a little bit bittersweet, but it's very unique. In the end, I decided to push that extra little bit and make the final ascent, and the views didn't disappoint. I was rewarded with a jaw-dropping 360-degree view of the surrounding mountains and valleys.
Right, we're going to start making tracks down. It is absolutely freezing up here. Horsies are finished their shift for the day, I think.
Our final day in Cusco had dawned, and the plan for the morning was this: head to Molly's Irish pub nice and early for the All-Ireland football semi-final between Kerry and Dublin.
Who are you going to be shouting for?
Kerry.
Oh, that was a good accent. And I got it.
Turns out we weren't the only Irish people with the same idea.
A very enjoyable morning there in an Irish pub. Felt like I was at home actually there for a little bit. Now we need to actually see the city a little bit because we haven't. Let's just hope that postcard reaches home before I do.
It did. Then there was only one thing for it. That's right, back to Molly's for a healthy dose of pints and Monopoly. Megan was a little bit confused by the rules, and being gently coerced into selling property for cheaper than it was worth.
Genuinely, like, promise, like, no one's actually landed on her, like, on fine. You know, when, like, she had to pay 500 or whatever.
I don't think she really cared though.
Because then it gets really spicy.
3 hours later,
I won.
victorious.
No, I won actually.
She gave up. She gave up. Who won?
Sarah.
You didn't win.
we are just leaving Molly's now.
I'm gonna buy a live alpaca if I can.
And I think the plan is we're going to go get some McDonald's, Tommy.
Yes.
So we will see you in...
PERU!
Or no. We will see you in the next one, ready? We will see you in the next one.
Oh, for God's sake.